comes a moment in life when the illusion finally breaks, when you realize that raw talent, that natural gift you once admired in others, is not the thing that decides who wins and who fades away. It's a quiet moment, often uncomfortable, where the truth whispers instead of shouts, and that truth is simple, almost brutal in its honesty. Talent might open the door, but discipline is the force that walks through it day after day, long after the excitement is gone. Because talent is loud in the beginning. It gets attention. It earns praise. It creates early victories that make everything seem effortless, almost magical. But discipline is silent. It doesn't care about applause. Doesn't care about how you feel when the alarm rings at 5 a.m. or when your body aches or when your mind is begging you to quit just this once. Discipline shows up anyway, unseen, unnoticed, and often uncelebrated, but over time it builds something that talent alone never could, an unstoppable momentum. And this is where most people get it wrong. They look at someone successful and they say they're just gifted, they were born different. But what they don't see are the thousands of invisible decisions, the sacrifices made behind closed doors, the moments when quitting would have been easier but wasn't chosen. They don't see the discipline that turned potential into power. Because the truth is, talent without discipline is fragile. It fades under pressure. It collapses when things stop being easy. And life always reaches that point where things stop being easy.
That's where the separation begins.
That's where the talented fall apart and the discipline rise. Think about the nights when no one is watching. When there's no audience, no reward, no guarantee that what you're doing will even work. That's the battlefield. Not the stage, not the spotlight, not the victory moment, but the quiet, lonely grind where discipline is tested again and again. And most people fail right there, not because they lack ability, but because they lack the consistency to keep going when motivation disappears. Because motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like a wave, rising when you feel inspired and crashing when reality hits. But discipline is different. It's a decision. It's a commitment you make to yourself that does not change based on your mood. It's showing up on the days you don't feel like it, doing the work when it's boring, pushing forward when there's no visible progress. And let's be honest, that's where it gets hard, really hard. Because there will be days when you question everything. Days when it feels like you're putting in effort with nothing to show for it. Days when people around you seem to be moving faster, achieving more, winning easier. And in those moments, your mind will try to convince you to slow down, to take a break, to settle. But discipline doesn't negotiate with excuses. It doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? It asks, what needs to be done? And then it does it. And this is the part no one talks about enough. Discipline is not built in comfort. It is forged in resistance. Every time you choose to keep going when stopping would be easier, you are strengthening something inside you that most people never develop. You are building a version of yourself that doesn't depend on circumstances, that doesn't crumble under pressure, that doesn't quit when things get tough. Because eventually the roles reverse. The talented who relied only on their natural ability begin to plateau. They hit limits they never prepared for. They struggle with challenges they never trained to overcome. And slowly, quietly, they start to fall behind. Meanwhile, the disciplined, the ones who were overlooked, underestimated, and even doubted, they keep growing step by step, day by day, brick by brick. And one day, almost suddenly, they surpass everyone who once seemed ahead, not because they were more gifted, but because they refused to stop. And that's the power of discipline. It compounds. Every small effort, every repeated action, every moment of persistence stacks on top of the last until it creates something undeniable, something unbreakable. But here's the truth you have to accept if you want to step into that level. Discipline requires sacrifice. It requires you to give up comfort, to delay gratification, to choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure. And that's not easy in a world that constantly pushes convenience, distraction, and instant results. You will have to say no to things others say yes to. You will have to keep going when others rest. You will have to stay focused when everything around you is trying to pull you off track. And you will feel alone sometimes. But that loneliness, that struggle, that relentless pursuit is shaping you. It's preparing you. It's turning you into someone capable of achieving things that once felt impossible. Because in the end, discipline is not just about what you do, it's about who you become. And once that transformation begins, there is no going back. Because once you step into that identity, once you become someone who does what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel, you start to see the world differently. You stop chasing shortcuts and you start respecting the process. You stop looking for motivation and you start relying on structure. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and you begin creating momentum out of imperfect days. And that's where everything changes. Because the disciplined mind understands something the average person ignores. That greatness is not built in bursts of intensity, but in layers of consistency. It's not about what you do once when you feel inspired. It's about what you repeat when you feel tired, distracted, and unsure. It's about showing up when your energy is low, when your confidence is shaken, when your progress feels invisible. That's the real test. And history has shown us this truth over and over again. There was a man who failed over 1,000 times before he finally created something that would light up the world. People laughed at him. They called his efforts useless, a waste of time. But he didn't stop. He didn't let failure define him. He treated every setback as information, every mistake as a step forward. That man, Thomas Edison, didn't succeed because he was the most naturally gifted inventor. He succeeded because his discipline refused to let him quit. While others saw failure, he saw progress. While others walked away, he kept working in the dark until he created light. And then there was a man who lost elections, failed in business, faced rejection after rejection, and carried the weight of defeat so many times that most people would have given up long before. But he did it. He kept moving forward, not because it was easy, but because he was disciplined enough to endure the struggle. Abraham Lincoln didn't rise to leadership because his path was smooth. He rose because he stayed committed when everything around him suggested he should stop trying. His story is not one of talent, but of resilience, persistence, and an unbreakable discipline that refused to be defeated. And think about Walt Disney, a man who was once told he lacked imagination, fired from a job because they believed he had no creative ideas. Imagine that, being told you're not creative enough to succeed in a world that you would later redefine. He faced bankruptcy, rejection, and countless closed doors. But he kept going, not because it felt good, but because he had a vision he refused to abandon. His discipline carried him through doubt, through fear, through failure, until one day the world saw what he had always believed. These are not just stories, they are reminders. Reminders that success is not reserved for the most talented, it is earned by those who are willing to stay consistent when consistency is the hardest thing to maintain. Because discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't give you immediate results. It doesn't reward you instantly. In fact, for a long time, it might feel like you're working harder than everyone else and getting less in return. But that's the illusion. That's the phase where most people quit right before the breakthrough. Because discipline works in silence. It builds strength when no one is watching. It creates progress that isn't always visible. And then one day, that invisible work becomes undeniable results. And people will look at you and call it luck. They will say you're talented. They will say you made it overnight. But you will know the truth. You will remember the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the moments when quitting felt easier than continuing. You will remember choosing discipline over comfort over and over again until it became part of who you are. And here's where the transformation deepens, because once discipline becomes your identity, you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't ask, should I do this today? You say, this is who I am, this is what I do. And that shift, that internal decision is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Because dreams are easy. Everyone has them. But discipline is rare. And it's rare because it demands something most people are not willing to give: total responsibility. It forces you to stop blaming circumstances, to stop waiting for opportunities, to stop making excuses. It puts everything back in your hands and says, if you want it, earn it. And that can be uncomfortable because it means there is no one else to point to when things don't go your way. It means you have to face your own habits, your own choices, your own level of effort. It means you have to confront the gap between where you are and where you say you want to be. But that's also where your power is. Because once you accept that responsibility, once you take full ownership of your actions, you unlock something most people never experience: control over your direction. And with that control comes a new level of clarity. You begin to understand that success is not a mystery, it's a pattern of daily actions repeated consistently over time. And discipline is the force that keeps that pattern intact, even when life tries to disrupt it. So you keep going, not because it's easy, but because you've decided that stopping is no longer an option. And slowly, steadily, you become unstoppable. Because once you reach that point, once quitting is no longer part of your vocabulary, something inside you hardens in the best possible way. Not in a way that makes you cold or disconnected, but in a way that makes you resilient, grounded, and unshakable. You begin to realize that the real battle was never out there in the world, it was always within you. It was the voice that told you to stop, the doubt that whispered you weren't enough, the fear that tried to convince you to play small. And now that voice is losing its power. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped listening. Because discipline doesn't eliminate fear, it overrides it. It doesn't remove doubt, it moves forward despite it. And that's the difference. That's the edge. That's the quiet strength that separates those who talk about what they want from those who actually go out and build it. You start to notice it in the smallest moments, when your alarm rings and your body begs for more sleep, but you get up anyway. When distractions pull at your attention, but you stay focused. When progress feels slow, but you keep working. These moments might seem insignificant on their own, but together they are shaping your destiny. Because destiny is not one big decision. It is thousands of small ones. And discipline is what makes those decisions align with the life you say you want. But here's where the journey becomes even more demanding, because as you grow, the standards rise. What used to challenge you becomes normal. What once required effort becomes routine. And that means you have to keep evolving, keep pushing, keep raising the bar. Because discipline is not something you achieve once, it's something you practice daily. There will be new levels, new obstacles, new moments where you are tested in ways you didn't expect. Success does not remove challenges, it replaces them with bigger ones. And if you are not careful, complacency can creep in. That quiet comfort that tells you you've done enough, you can relax now. But discipline doesn't settle. It doesn't get comfortable. It keeps moving. And this is where many people lose their edge, not because they failed, but because they stopped growing. They reached a level of success and decided to stay there, forgetting that the same discipline that got them there is the discipline required to stay there and go even further. So you remind yourself every single day why you started. Not in a superficial way, not as a temporary boost of motivation, but as a deep-rooted understanding of your purpose. Because when your why is strong enough, discipline becomes easier to maintain. Not easy, but easier. Because now every action has meaning. Every sacrifice has direction. Every moment of effort is connected to something bigger than just temporary discomfort. And that purpose, that vision becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate. It keeps you focused when distractions increase. It keeps you grounded when success tries to inflate your ego or failure tries to break your spirit. God. Because at the highest level, discipline is not just about action, it's about alignment. It's about making sure that who you are on a daily basis matches who you say you want to become. And if there's a gap, discipline is the bridge that closes it. But let's not pretend this path is easy. There will be days when you are exhausted beyond words. Days when nothing seems to go right. Days when you question whether it's all worth it. And in those moments, you will have a choice, the same choice that defines every great story. Do you stop or do you continue? And if you've truly embraced discipline, you already know the answer. You continue. Not because you feel strong, but because you've trained yourself to act even when you feel weak. Not because you are certain of the outcome, but because you are committed to the process. Not because it's guaranteed to work, but because you refuse to live with the regret of not trying. And that is where transformation reaches its peak. Because now you are no longer driven by emotion. You are driven by identity. You are someone who shows up. You are someone who does the work. You are someone who doesn't quit. And that identity, that internal shift is more powerful than any external reward, because rewards can be taken away, but who you become, that stays. And as you stand on the edge of your next level, looking back at how far you've come, you begin to understand something that once felt impossible to grasp. That discipline was never your limitation. It was always your greatest advantage. It was the thing that kept you going when others stopped. It was the thing that carried you through uncertainty, through struggle, through doubt. It was the thing that turned your potential into reality. So now, as you move forward, there is no hesitation left, no waiting, no second guessing, no holding back, because you know what it takes. You've lived it, you've built it, and you've proven to yourself that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times you are tested, you will not stop, you will not break, you will not settle. Because discipline is no longer something you do. It is who you are. And that is why, in the end, it will always beat talent.